Welcome back to Chapter 14 Code with Me videos. In this video, we're actually going to be looking at stylizing tables. And we're just going to start with activity 14.7. So the first thing we're going to do is navigate to the services page and take a look at the table right here. Now, if you notice, the table is a little hard to determine exactly what's going on. For example, if we have a pet up to 8 pounds and enhanced grooming, is that $65 or is that $71? It's a little hard to determine. If I have 15.1 to 30, is that $42 for basic and $77 for enhanced, or is it $36 or $71? It's hard to determine exactly what's going on, mainly because we have this long cell right here that has a column span of a lot. In this case, it is taking up a lot of space and bumping everything over. So we're actually going to be modifying that, but first we're going to be taking a look at what actual space the table is taking up. So inside your CSS, take a look at line 126-ish, in between the tables and forms comment, that's the next video, and add some new space. The first thing we're going to do is add the word table and then the curly brace because we're going to stylize the table itself. Border 333 solid 1px. Now, if you recall from the lecture, this only stylizes the table itself, the perimeter of the table, not everything inside of it. So in this case, if we want to set a border to everything inside, we actually just need to add another rule, such as th and td. Border 333 solid 1px. Can we combine these? We sure can, but for now we're going to leave them as is because we're going to be modifying other things around them. So we save, we take a look, and now you can see that the different borders have appeared between the th's, the td's, and if you pay close attention, there is spacing between the actual cells. This actually gives you a good idea about how to use the border collapse, which we'll use in the next activity. So the next activity has space outside the cells. Going to add a new declaration of the table rule to increase the space between the borders. So we go back to table, we say border spacing, and we're going to set 20 pixels. Now before I save and refresh, take a look at the actual spacing between the cells, the THs and the TDs. We save, we refresh, and now you can see the content has actually been spaced away from the other content because the space in the border has been increased to 20 pixels. Not exactly the best way to show a table, so we're going to actually decrease the 20 to 0. We save, we refresh, and now we have solid borders, but that's actually just the two edges of the borders bumped up against each other. You can do this with border spacing, or you can also say border collapse, and the default value, if you're going to add anything, is collapse. We save, we refresh, and that pretty much does the exact same thing, but instead of having two double lines between each cell, now we just have one line because there is no border between the different cells. There's no spacing of the borders between the cells. So basically, the space between the borders disappears. The grid lines are only 1 pixel thick because the borders have collapsed onto each other. The content inside each is still cramped because by default, there is no padding inside the cells. You can add that if you like, which we are going to do. So in this case, we're going to say padding 0.5 rem, save, refresh, and there is no change because the content inside the cells is still cramped. What happened is that we actually modified the table itself, not the actual content. So instead of putting this inside table, let's actually take this and bump it down. I'm going to do that. Bump it down to the THs and the TD. So that way, once we do that, we stylize the TH and TDs to specify a padding between the content and the outside border. Good. Next activity, we're going to be specifying width and height. So let's take a look. We're going to set table width for this right here, width of 400 pixels. Save, refresh. Whoa, that shrunk it down a bit. Okay, not exactly what we want to do, so let's delete that. Let's use the table layout and fixed. Now before we do this, I want to pay attention to actually what table layout does. Table layout actually specifies how the table should be rendered when the page loads. If you have a table layout of fixed, that means that the table is going to stay the same regardless of how much data is in it and how much spacing it has. So that way it's easier for the browser to process and render the table than it is for a dynamic table that may or may not have information coming in and going out of it. So by doing this is probably a little more advanced than what you want, but this will make it easier and also better for the browser to process. So if you save, you refresh, and now we have, well, basically what we worked with. But the table itself actually processed a lot faster. However, the columns are not the same width. Table layout fixed only works with widths if a width is set. So let's go back here. Set width of 100%. We save, we refresh. Hey, look at that. All the cells have now automatically been spaced to be the same. Basically, all the columns are equally spaced with basically one line of code. We could go in and say, okay, let's go down here to TD and say width of 33.3%, which is okay, but then, well, that doesn't do the same thing when it comes to table spacing and table cells. It would be better, instead of just specifying a width to the TD and the TH, to just say table layout of fixed and width of whatever you want it to be. That way it makes it easier on the browser to know how much space to render for the available space in the data. Now we're going to specify a specific column. For this, we're going to go, let's see, after the closing of this rule, going to say tr, and we're going to say width of 500 pixels. So we save, we refresh, and, well, what just happened? Well, nothing really, because, well, it doesn't really know what to set the width of for a TR. That is a table row. That is this right here, this right here, this right here, and it's kind of hard to specify the width of it. So what if we specify specific items, such as first of type? Okay, we save, we refresh. Visually, there's no difference because it doesn't know what to do with first of type. So instead, if we say TD, do anything? Nope. Going to specify TH. Okay, what does that mean? Whoa, hello. That basically set the width of the TR and the first of type, the TH, to a width of 500 pixels each, which easily extends our 100% width of the table layout fixed of previous item. So instead, what we're going to do is we're actually going to say first child. We're specifying the first child, which is a TH, the first of type of the TR. So we're basically saying the first row and the first TH, we're going to set a width of 500 pixels, which is right here. So this pet weight will not change. We save, we refresh, and now the table looks a little more manageable. Okay, the first column is sized to 500 pixels wide. The remaining columns are sized equal to each other because table layout is still set to fixed. Well, that's good, but let's delete the width declaration from the table rule. So we delete the width declaration from the table rule. We save, we refresh, and now the first column width is still set to 500 pixels, but the remaining columns are no longer sized equal to each other because table layout only works if the table's width is set. So we're going to return to brackets and delete the table layout declaration because without a width it does nothing. And delete the entire first child and everything else right there because what we're going to do, we're actually going to be working with something else. So save, refresh, and we're back to basically ugly. Okay, let's modify the TH now, and we're actually going to set a white space modifier. So white dash space of no wrap, and that is one word. Basically what that means is that this right here, pet weight, we're going to put on one line and not allow it to break up. So we're basically telling the browser that, hey, even though this is 2 lines, even though the space for everything else makes this 2 lines, we're going to force this to not break, basically making the phrase on one line, regardless of how big it is. So you need to go ahead and take the information that's present, making the first column the same width as whatever this is, along with the rest of the data. It's a lot of work to ask the browser to do this, but don't worry, the browser can do it. So we save, we refresh, and now we see that pet weight and all the other THs have actually been specified to no wrap, which basically means that over 100 pounds right here is going to be on one line. If, hypothetically, you set that to TD as well, then you'll see that this long line right here does not break because we have set the white space to no wrap. TD is a little more excessive than we want, so let's delete that. Next, we are specifying the positioning. Okay, so we're going to go down here, new line, TD, closing brace, because we're good developers. Text align, and we're going to be setting that to center. We save, we refresh, and now we see that the prices have all been centered in the cells. But also, this text right here has been centered, and we don't want that. So we're actually going to be specifying an overriding rule. So for that, we're going to be specifying tr last of type. So we're specifying the last tr, which is right here. And inside that, we're going to be specifying the td last child. For that, we're going to say text align left. And look, the text is aligned to the left, and no modification of the HTML was necessary. Now, if we don't say TD and just say TR last of type, then that's actually going to be specifying just the TH right here and not the TD. Mainly because, well, as soon as it specifies the first item, in this case the TR, it only takes effect for the first item, and the TD has the text line as center, so that is being overridden. So by saying TD last child, it's specifying the last child, in this case the TD, has a text line of left. Okay. Now if you notice, the over 100 pounds text here is actually in the middle of the cell. We want that to be at the very top. So for that, we're actually going to be specifying up here, vertical align and top. And that makes all this TH stuff right here, all the T and TF and everything else, aligned to the top of the cell. Well, everything else is automatically at the top and the middle and the bottom, so therefore it doesn't move. But this over 100 pounds is aligned to the top of the cell now, even with the spacing or the padding around it. Right now, only the first cell in the bottom row currently needs to be adjusted. Applying the vertical align to every cell will basically future-proof the table. So all the cell content is now top aligned, even though it doesn't look like it, making it easier to read across rows. Next activity, we're setting the caption. And since we already have a caption here, we're going to be modifying the placement of that caption. So inside here, going to go into table. We're going to say caption side, not size, side, bottom. And without modifying the HTML at all, we have now placed the caption at the bottom of the table. Now keep in mind that when you're working with your HTML, the caption should be the first thing inside the table tag. Even if you move caption to the bottom of the table in your HTML, it will still by default appear at the top. You can use CSS to modify it. But while we're inside that, we can actually modify the styling of the caption by just specifying caption. Easy, right? Border 3 triple 3 solid 1px. This is just a visual aspect. So now we can see a border appears around the caption and is basically the same width as the table. The border along the top of the caption is double thick because it is touching the bottom border of the table. An easy fix is to remove the caption's top border. Okay, so inside the caption declaration or set of rules, we're going to specify border top of none. You could also say 0 if you wanted to. Whoop, come on. There we go. We now have a 1 pixel width because the caption does not have a top border. Let's keep stylizing this a bit. Going to say font style, italic, padding of 5 or 0.5 rem, and text align is right. So what did we do? We specified this to be italic, added some padding, and made the text align to the right. Good. All right, good. Yay, next activity is color striping. We're gonna color the top row first. After the closing brace of the caption rule, TR, first of type. Okay, this is the most fun that we're gonna have in this chapter. What we're gonna do for this is set background color, spell color right, to hashtag 2C77CD and set the color of the text to white, triple F. Now keep in mind that what this is doing is specifying the first of type for the table row. In that case, it is this right here, the pet weight, basic grooming, and enhanced grooming table headers. So we save, we refresh, and now our top row has some coloring and background coloring, which is pretty awesome. You could have just given the TR or all the THs that you wanted a class and then specified the class, but hey, this is easier, less code to do, less modifying of the HTML. We're going to stripe the remaining rows. So we're going to specify after this, going to say TR nth of type, and we're going to specify even. All right, and background color, spell color right, of triple D. Now, before I do this, take a look at the table and guess which ones will be colorized as gray or sort of off-white. If you said the 8.1 to 15, the 30.1 to 50, and the 1 pounds, you're technically not wrong, but you're technically not right either. What happens by saying TR nth of type even, that basically means that we're including the first TR because that is a table row, even though it just has table headers. So this is row 1. This is row 2. 8 pounds will be colored. 15.1 to 30, and then 50.1 to 100 will all be colored. Don't believe me? Let's refresh. And there we go. Because this is row 1, that's odd, row 2 is even, row 3 is odd, row 4 is even, and so on. So all even rows display a light gray background. The very bottom row is not colored because it is not a table row, it is the caption. So this right here is the caption and will not be colored unless we specify a caption color. Now the good thing about striping is that if you modify the table data, you add more rows, whatever you are going to do to modify this nth of type right here automatically calculates and colorizes the information in the table without you having to do any extra work. Good. Let's see. Return to brackets, click after that. Add the following new rule to color all the odd even rows. Okay, we're basically going to do the exact opposite. Nth of type. Odd, not ood, odd. No oods in this. I'm going to say background color DDE. Although, could an ood do this? Maybe if you told it to. Okay, save, refresh, and whoa, what happened here? All odd rows display a bluish gray background. Unfortunately, this rule has overwritten the color of the top row because the specificity value is the same and the rule comes later in the code. Remember this right here, the first of type, and then we have the nth of type down here. That doesn't exactly work out because this, the background color of DDE, is overwriting the TR first of type. So we need to fix that, and fix it fast. So to fix this, we increase the specificity value of the table or the top row's rule. So for this, we actually go up here, going to add the table declaration up here, save, refresh. There we go. The first one is now fixed because this specificity of the table and the TR adds more value than just the standard TR down here. All right. We're also going to color the caption. Good. So along with the first of type right here, we're also going to specify caption to make sure that the first row and the last quote-unquote row is colored the same. So by doing that and using a grouped selector, we make sure that the first of type for the table TR and the caption both have the same color. We save, we refresh, and now they both match up. That was a lot of work, but hopefully you learned something, because that is it for Chapter 14 Video 2. In the next video, we're talking about stylizing forms. So if you have any questions about anything in this video or anything in Chapter 14, please let me know via email or on Twitter, and I'll get back to you with the best possible answer.